Another day of scrims, and finally we got to see a couple matchups that I think almost everybody has been waiting for. So for today, the first scrim from OpTic Chicago was against the Atlanta Faze. We'll go through, we'll talk about all the hard points, and we'll talk about each map. The second scrim was against the Dallas Empire. We'll cover a little bit more of that one tomorrow. Didn't quite go as well as the first one did, but without further ado, we are on board with Scum on the map Crossroads. So just a little bit about this scrim overall. They came out of the gates and were absolutely incredible. So on Garrison, which was the first map, they had a big lead early. They ended up winning that 250 to 192. So it was a comfortable win. Could have absolutely been bigger than what it was, but OpTic still played really well on that map, which is a map that historically against the Dallases and the Atlantas, they haven't really played all that great on. So that was good to see if you're an OpTic fan. And then on Raid was probably the closest. Actually, Raid and Moscow were both super close, but Raid came down to like 1 kill inside of P5 on the second set of rotations, and if they didn't get that kill, they probably lose because they didn't have the rotations for P1 on the third set of rotations. So they clutched up, got a 250 to 236 victory on Raid. Obviously, what we're watching here is Crossroads, which was their most dominant performance, and by the way, DASHY was absolutely incredible. I think throughout these hard points, I think DASHY was definitely their best player. And again, if you're an OpTic Chicago fan, that's encouraging because if he can continue to play the way that he's been playing, I think that's what's going to make them a contender. It'll make them or it will break them. So DASHY's been playing really well. We'll see if it keeps it up, especially the biggest thing to look for DASHY is, does he play that way when we're 4 months in, when we're 6 months in, right? When it gets into June or May and they've been playing all these tournaments and stuff, that's when the grind seems to decline just a little bit for DASHY. We'll see if he keeps it up as we move on. When it came to Checkmate, which is the fourth map, they lost 197 to 250. And unless, I don't know, now we'll see how the vetoes go. But unless the vetoes really go against them, I just can't see OpTic Chicago playing Checkmate. They lose that map to basically everybody. It's by far their worst hardpoint map. So my guess would be that it would be an automatic veto just right away. I don't see why they would play that map, but that was the first one of the hardpoint maps that they lost to Atlanta. And then the Moscow, again, came down to 1 kill at the very end. Scum thought he was inside to contest, and he wasn't. So they dropped Moscow 242 to 250. But as you can see, all of these maps were super close. Garrison was like a 60-point victory, and Checkmate was a 60-point victory. Each of those were, you know, one went to Atlanta, one went to Chicago. But overall, this was about as tight of a scrim as you'll see. And again, this is why map vetoes are super important, right? If they end up playing Checkmate against a team like Atlanta or Dallas or really anybody for that matter, because they just don't play great on Checkmate, then we'll see what happens in those matchups. But if they can stick to some of these maps that they're better at, I don't see why they don't have a fighting chance against anybody that they play. So as you can see right here, we've been talking a lot, haven't really been covering the actual gameplay footage and what we've been seeing. But as it was inside of P1, the rotation over to P2, both of those hills were kind of split, but where it really started to add up is a rotation over towards P3. OpTic was able to get the majority of time inside of P3, and again, P4 is extremely dominant, right? If you win those spawns and you hold that old P4 spawn, it's just super tough to get flipped out of there. I mean, it's just the way that ARs can just watch the push on top of P3 from that P1 spawn, it's just almost impossible to get pushed out of that. But as we're rotating here into the second set of rotations, I love what Chicago's doing right now. Rather than trying to force this push into P1 over and over again, I like the fact that they're playing for trades, but they're really pushing the bottom part of the map. And doesn't seem like they've got it completely pushed out yet. In fact, they might have now. And again, they were willing to give up the first 30 seconds there to play slowly, get a trade or two inside the hard point, and then once they got that, they were able to push out the back. They got those top P1, the right side of P1 spawns, and they were able to flip. It was just a fantastic job, and now as it rotates over towards P2, they're going to have those initial spawns. Let's go ahead and let's bring up our mini-map for the very first time. So as we're rotating over here towards P1, OpTic was trying to get a hold of this, but they were spawning over here on the left-hand side. And as you saw this, again, I really like to push over towards mid-map. So they pushed mid-map. We saw Scump posted up right here down towards the bottom of P1, really just trying for trades there. They had somebody go over here towards Catwalk, and they had somebody hitting the bottom side of the map. And as soon as one person went down inside the hardpoint, that's when you started to see this push down towards the bottom side of the map. Scump was able to get inside the hard point, and when they got one more kill back in this area, whoever went down, I forget who it was, who got traded out inside of P1, they spawned right here, which completed the push. That took Atlanta. It spawned them up towards new P4, and then now they're just playing from here. So as it rotates forward, the big thing here is going to be seeing how are they going to rotate from P2 to P3, right? Because now they have these back spawns. They're going to have control of P2. From here, do they try to push over towards mid, or do they play the long game? Do they hit the bottom part of the map, try to push out? This is old P4, obviously. New P4 is up here. But do they try to put it the bottom side of the map so that as it rotates, give up that first 30 seconds or so inside of P3, then you can push out the bottom side of the map, then you can get inside new P4 and go from there. So we'll see how it all ends up working out. But so far, they're just doing a phenomenal job of gaining map control, flipping out spawns, getting that dominant spawn, and then just getting time inside the hard point. Right here, you can see that they got flipped out, but we'll see how they go about gaining those spawns back for P2. But with that, guys, let's go ahead. The best thing about scrims is that we can actually listen in and hear exactly what they're talking about. So let's go ahead. Let's jump on board with these Chicago team comms and hear exactly what they're talking about as we're about to rotate from P2 to P3 on the second set of rotations here.
Dead. One more time.
Hit time.
I'm dead.
Time dead.
Barrel, one shot cell.
We're gonna
Dead.
spawn there. All good. This is a good time though.
I'm going up P1.
He's cat, sim.
We're on P1
weak.
together. Yo, top P1 box out.
Yeah, they could put pressure on this.
Actually,
oh, bottom mid too.
One's top fences.
Push out P1. Push out
I'm going
Simp
left.
fences, I think.
Or right, I mean.
Yeah, Simp is just sitting back left.
I don't see the kid, right? I'm looking for him to chow. He's not chowing.
He's probably, he might be a stair spot. Wait, just chow
I'm
it.
gonna go cat late.
Just chow dinner.
Easy, dead.
I'm gonna go cat for you guys.
Those not peeking.
Break through right.
Nothing back right. He's close laying down.
No.
Nice.
Nice. I kill the kid.
Nice, too.
Yo, what's up? Middle. He's wrapping back to their barrel.
Backdoor,
one shot. Backdoor, absolute.
Ivory out.
I naded your cat.
He's cat.
Two backdoor. Got one.
Back
Backdoor.
at her. Sell back at her.
Hit through.
Back to Alex. Back to Alex. One shot. Back. He's going big door. One shot.
I spawn here.
Back big door. One shot. Alex. Last guy. Back big door. One shot. Alex. Last guy.
Deep back dead.
I'm picking for guys. Right.
I'm pushing out P1.
That's Cato.
So just on a little bit of a break right here, I'll say that is extremely tough to do. In order to break P3 and that P4 spawn from the top side of the map, you essentially have to get a team wipe inside of the hill. And then once you get inside P3, you have to get a second team wipe as Atlanta's coming up off of spawns from P4 and able to break through and actually flip out those spawns. So that's something you don't see very often. It's definitely something you're not going to see super often against the Atlantas, against the Dallas, against the Chicagos of the world. Looks like they're kind of up in limbo right now in terms of spawns. They seem to be flipping out back and forth both ways, but that was a really nice job. And it just happened back to them, right? So they gained spawns. Atlanta got a team kill inside P3. They pushed out, got spawns for P4. So a little bit of back and forth here, but let's go ahead. Let's listen back into the Chicago team comms.
Get rid of it.
Cliff cell weak.
I'm close time, just laying down. I got him in time.
Nice, shut up.
I kill one Cliff. Alec in the back. Not peeking me.
I can see across a second. Yo, P2 he pins.
I about her.
In the back, Alec. P2 He's going.
Challenging in the back. Backdoor dead.
I like in the back.
Nice, do that, guys.
One more mid box.
I'll come cover you guys. Hang on.
Dead.
Nice, solve him. Still spawn back there.
got a trophy on you.
I'm gonna go
They're both weak. P team kill. One more in the back weak.
Another one there. No more there.
So weak in the back.
Dude, he spawned close.
One catwalk to
I
P3.
have catwalk.
Pushing out. I think he pushed out P3 door. It could be bottom mid.
Hey, kill one
I'll get up.
Nothing cat. Mid's right.
He's bottom mid, Abe, weak. He's at the stair spot. He's just strafing it.
Nothing on left. I got naded here, dude. I'm one shot.
Got me, BZ.
Yeah, cat
One
hitting it.
cross cat.
And bottom mid.
I spawned behind him, guys. I flipped.
Yeah, he pushed out barrel door. Barrel door too.
I flipped. Simp dead hill.
Barrel door dead.
Top cat cell. Absolute. I'm flanking
barrel
cat
door?
again. One bullet up there. I think left corner side. Cat dead.
Nice, two.
One still like barrels, I think.
But I'll kill ASD. Dead.
Good job.
Nice, I'm turning.
Yo, I'm watching over you, man. I'm watching over you.
Okay, I'm staying down. Any P3?
Yo, P3, two P3. Got both P3.
Nice,
Deep right,
nice.
deep
I'm
right,
watching the
Alex.
left. I'm watching the left. I can left now.
One low left. Last guy low left.
Is he
He hit
pushing
it. He's ASD right now.
I'm in there,
Is he
cat.
I'm staying down.
We flipped.
Cat dead.
Cat. Nice. Top cat, guys. Top cat.
And up.
AS&D weak, Cell.
Yo, they could be barrel door. I think they're barrel door.
Meeting wallbang.
And again, just real quick, what you saw from Scump right there, and basically all of Chicago, that's what made Atlanta so good last year in Modern Warfare. And when you're really clicking, what you tend to do is what Scump just did right there. So they were inside of P1, but rather than stay inside of P1, they pushed inside of P3. Once they were in P3, they went top storage. They were able to get kills on Atlanta's side of the P1 map. And once you're able to do stuff like that, you just take your enemy by surprise. They don't expect you to be there. And that's how you end up getting time inside of P1, running rotations over towards P2, and ultimately getting a 250 to 140 victory. But as we look at this, remember, we talked about this at the top. DASHY, 5,300 damage with a score of 3,100. Scump had 4,400 damage. Envoy had 4,600 damage. When you look across, we can't see the damage numbers exactly for Atlanta, but we can see the scores. Abizi in the 2000s, Arcides in the 1900s for score, Simp in the 1800s for score. And if you do that, probably not going to be good enough against one of these other top tier teams. So in today's video, we went through, we talked about a little bit. Well, I'm sure we'll cover a lot more of this scrim with Atlanta, but tomorrow we're going to be covering the scrim with Dallas. So if you're new around here, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like if you don't mind, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, guys, we will see you in tomorrow's upload.